Hey everybody, John Ray here. We are going to be talking about finding clarity and getting the most productivity that you can out of the energy that you have in the moment. So many times in my life, I have looked at a long to-do list of things and just completely had the life sucked out of me. And so after going to many somatic healing experience practitioners and working with many coaches, this is a process that I do every single day to help me get into the zone to do all of the things that are on my to-do list. And so I'm live streaming both on Twitter and YouTube. You can head over to the YouTube account, just click in through my profile onto the link there, and you'll find the YouTube if you want to follow along with the video. But today we're going to go through a daily emotional clarity and productivity exercise that you can use to get stuff done in a way where you're not just slogging through it. You're not hustling harder, because when we slog, when we do things that aren't meant for us, that's when we end up getting sick. That's when we end up resenting the work that we're doing. That's when we end up resenting the people around us. And so this process is about finding the energetic and heart-centered alignment towards the things that you have to do, addressing all of the emotional injuries that are preventing you from being able to joyously take action on those things, and then getting to an emotionally balanced space so that once you do have that energy, you can then enact whatever you need to enact in your life in order to keep moving forward and making progress. So really the purpose of this process is to gain clarity and emotional balance, especially if you're feeling triggered or uncertain or unsure what to do next. This could be applied at a micro level to what's happening in your day-to-day on your to-do list, or it could be applied to a macro level where you might be asking, what am I doing with my life? If that's a question where you're trying to figure out what's my purpose, what should be the most passionate thing that I could do. If that's a trap that you're stuck in, this process can be a really good tool for helping you get out of that and finding some clarity. And really the benefits of doing this on a regular basis are that this exercise helps in identifying and processing emotions, which leads to that increased productivity and emotional well-being that we're all looking for. If you're somebody where everybody around you knows that if they give you the ball, you're going to be able to run to it, guess what? You're just going to naturally attract more opportunities. And opportunities come to, one, those who are ready, and two, those who are willing. And some of this is about developing the will by getting rid of the emotional injury that prevents you from doing the things that you need to do in order to get ahead in life. So this process always starts with a little bit of a breathing exercise. So we're just going to take 5 to 10 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I'll kind of be doing this as we go along. So we take breath in, maybe hold it at the top a little bit, and a breath out. Breath in and out. Breath in and out. And you're just kind of rolling your neck and your shoulders. You want to get all that tension out, because really what we want to do is bring the nervous system back online, attend to whatever is there, so that we can find the energy to do the things that we need to do. Another breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And one more. And out through the mouth. And just doing that sometimes can be enough to kind of get you knocked out of whatever funk you're in. But oftentimes for me, it's deeper than that. And there's something that's gnawing on me because maybe something happened. I was triggered by something. Maybe I didn't get stuff that I was supposed to get done yesterday. And now a client or a community member or somebody is upset with me. And so we have all of this emotional friction in our system that prevents us from being able to take the action that would, ironically clear up some of the emotional anxiety that we're having. So the first thing that I always do in the morning is I'll sit down, I'll pull out a legal pad of paper. I've got this journal here that just has a big old yellow legal pad in it. And then I will pull out what's called an emotional focus wheel. And so if you're on the YouTube live stream, you can see this wheel. Let me see if I can get this shared to the Jumbotron. 1 second. So this emotions wheel is basically just has a bunch of adjectives, and these adjectives are describing all of the different, types of ways that you might feel. And you can use this as a helpful or a useful way to kind of figure out energetically what might be holding you back. So I might look at this and it starts with kind of these high level or these base level emotions, and then everything else is kind of pointing to one of those. And so it's sometimes useful to know kind of how these emotions and phrases, stack on top of each other. So right now I might be feeling anxious, but really anxiousness is a type of fear, and so it's useful to know that because the anxiousness is usually birthed out of something that I'm afraid of. But we can go ahead and pick anything on this emotions wheel and write it down at the top of a sheet of paper. So I'll pick anxious, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then identify the opposite emotion that represents how I want to feel. So that might mean that I look over here and I say, confident. Yeah, that's how I want to feel. Right now I feel anxious or nervous. I'd rather feel confident. And so in a document, like a Google Doc like this, or in a legal pad, I might just write anxious and then confident so I don't forget them. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to explore the current emotion. So we always start with kind of the base level one, the one that we're feeling right now in the present moment. And so on that sheet of paper, we write the current emotion at the top. That's going to be anxious for this example. And then what we're going to do is we're going to list all of the scenarios or memories where you, someone else, or a fictional character experienced this emotion. And so I'll go ahead and do an example of this, but really the objective that we're trying to do is exhaust the energy of this emotion by bringing it to the surface and releasing it. And we do that through expression. And so in the YouTube chat, if you see this document that I'm typing into, I've got anxious written up at the top. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer the question, from where could somebody experience anxious energy or feel anxious? And so maybe I even write that question. So I say, from where could someone experience feeling anxious? And then I just do a free-form stream of consciousness that lists out not only the times that I remember feeling anxious, but the reason that we phrase it as from where could somebody experience feeling anxious is that we want to uncover fictional characters, people that we remember from books, from movies, friends, family members. Our consciousness takes on the energy of so many of the things around us. And so sometimes I'll, watch a scary movie, at night, and then I'll wake up with some of that terror in my system because I empathically kind of took some of that on. And so what we're writing out is not necessarily things that we personally have been anxious about, but just anything that we can remember where somebody was feeling anxious or could feel anxious, because the light of our consciousness is going to serve whatever language that energy is tangled up in. And then by giving an expression, we're one, able to better identify where it is in our body. So we always want to be scanning our body as we do this process. But two, we want to, go into whatever our stream of consciousness brings us. So let me just do an example. So for anxious, from where could somebody experience feeling anxious? Maybe it's they got locked out of their house. They don't have money to pay their bills. They are being followed by someone. They missed a deadline. They are late for school. And so as I'm typing out all of these different things, what's happening is memories are flashing for me of times that I either read this in a book, or I saw it in a film, or I remember somebody happening it, or it happened to me. And then I'm tracking in my nervous system as physical sensation any loose energy there that is ready for release. And what I want to do is I want to go through this entire list until I literally cannot think of something else. So just for the sake of you being able to see kind of what this looks like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to exhaust this list as much as possible. So for those just joining in, what we're doing is we're mapping the feeling of anxiousness, and we're asking ourselves a question: from where could somebody experience feeling anxious? You can go on the emotion wheel and pick any emotion, but right now for this example, we're going to do anxious. And then we stream of consciousness are just listing out anything that comes to us that where I could feel anxious, where somebody else could feel anxious, where a film character could feel anxious, because we have tentacles out into the world on that pull in this anxious energy that isn't even ours, that we need to release. So from where could somebody experience feeling anxious? Their parents yelled at them. They got a bad grade. They got grounded. They told a lie and are afraid they will get found out. So we're just venting all of this energy. And again, it's not even necessarily something that you feel anxious about, because maybe you watched a movie or a TV show last night where somebody was feeling anxious and you took on some of that energy. This stream of consciousness process is about you being able to kind of vent any of the anxious tentacles that you have out into the world. So we might say they slipped and fell. People were laughing at them. And as I'm doing this, things are flashing for me. Times when I first wrote, when people were laughing at them, I was thinking about a TV show that I watched last night. But then as I wrote it, things from my childhood came up. A particular time at a bar came to my memory where somebody was laughing at me. So what's happening is moments in my life where I might have bypassed some of this energy. I didn't properly process the anxiousness. Our brain is so good at serving up those memories and experiences because it wants us to be in emotional health and balance, because that helps the factory of our body to work better. And so by doing this work, we pay attention to whatever memories come up, whatever flashes in the consciousness of our mind, that movie screen. But then we're also paying attention to any feelings that come up. And then we're just revisiting the top word or question: from where could somebody experience feeling anxious? So they had a friend that was murdered. Sorry to make it so graphic, but I was watching a weird comedy with murder last night. So that's what popped into my head. And so that's what I'm writing down to make sure that that's all cleared up. So from where else could somebody experience feeling anxious? They got broken up with. They broke up with someone else, but are now not sure they should have. They have a flat tire. Their truck broke down. So you can see how, as we kind of just explore and let let our stream of conscious kind of go wherever it wants, whatever is ready to come to the surface is just going to come to us as an idea, and maybe we're making it up, but if it comes to us, if it comes to us as a phrase, we need to explore it because there's some energy that's ready to release around that, and we don't even necessarily have to know what it's from. We just stream of consciousness, give expression until we literally cannot think of another experience where somebody could feel anxiousness, at which point that means that we're pretty well cleared of any of the emotional energy that might have been stuck around that word. And now we can run the exact same exercise for our opposite word. So remember, we were on the emotions wheel. We picked out how we feel right now. So we picked out anxiousness for this example. And then we said, well, how would I like to feel? And so on this wheel, we found under the happy column, the word confident. Ooh, that is how I want to feel right now. That's how I want to do the task during my day. And so we wrote confident up at the top of this just to kind of seed our consciousness, so it can subconsciously in the background, be crunching on that. And now we can go in and write confident at the top of a sheet of paper or in a document, and we can do the same thing. So I'm going to tune into the YouTube chat and just see if there's anything that we need to address in the chat. If you have something that you want to say, you can either jump up onto the stage space in Twitter, or you can use the link in the Jumbotron to get into the YouTube chat, and I'll try to pay attention to that as we go. But now that we are fully expressed on anxiousness, we literally can't think of any other phrase where somebody could feel anxious. And trust me, if you start this experiment and you're feeling really anxious about a lot of things, you will actually start to laugh when you get to the place where you cannot think of another anxious thing, because it's hilarious to think that, you're not even connected enough into that place of anxiousness anymore where you can't even think of anything else. And so the manifestation oftentimes when you're doing this exercise is when you get to the end of the list and you're trying so hard to think of something that somebody could experience anxiousness from, and you can't, you actually burst out laughing. And that's one of the ways that you know that you've gotten to the end point of this particular step in the exercise. And now we want to reinforce the energy that we actually want to call in, because this is going to allow us to better go after our to-do list and organize our to-do list. So we don't want to go back to the emotion wheel at this point in time, because we might see another word that triggers us. And that's why we pick the positive opposite before we even start the exercise. That way we can go directly into the word confident, and we can stream of consciousness say, from where could someone experience feeling confident? And what we're going to do is this is a type of emotional stacking that we're kind of using to hack our nervous system to call in congruent energy that will give us kind of the boost that we need to complete some of the things that we want to do for the day. So from where could somebody experience confident? Or I guess I'll put confidence or feeling confident. Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe they got a promotion at work. So even as I'm typing that, like I said that because that was the first thing that came to me, but there was no real memory or emotion associated it. But then as I type it, what's happening is all the times that I got promoted at work are flashing through my minds. And then there's a couple of times that I didn't get promoted and I thought I was. And so some of that energy is coming up. And so this process is designed to kind of Trojan horse that energy out of your system so that it can transmute itself back into creative potential. And we can have access to the whole energy stream that is rightfully ours as spiritual beings, productive humans, etc. So from where could someone experience feeling confident? They achieved their goal. They got a big check. They won a race or competition. So you're always kind of writing it in the third person, but then letting that inspire personal thoughts and feelings as a way to stack emotionally some of the things that are ready to come to the surface to serve you in this present moment. So I just continually keep asking myself the question until literally nothing else comes to me. So sometimes I've filled like 40 legal pages in the past. If this is the first time that you've done this, you may have a lot of stuff that needs to get reconnected, a lot of dots that need to be straightened out. And so you just keep going as long as you can for the time that you have allotted. Or if you have plenty of time, an infinite amount of time, then you just go until you literally cannot think of something else. And trust me, you will get to the place where you can't think of something else, and it will likely be very humorous to you. And that buoyancy is showing that the process kind of found its natural conclusion. So from where could somebody experience feeling confident? They got to kiss the girl. They are free to travel without restriction. They watched a great movie. They wrote something they're really proud of. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. They read a quote that was meaningful to them. From where could somebody experience feeling confident? And as I'm going through this right now, you can be kind of tracking your own experiences. Where have you or others or characters that you know about experience confidence? Because just by moving our consciousness into some of these areas, we get a tentacle onto the flavor of some of the energy that brought about that confidence, and then we can reproduce it newly in this now moment. So from where could somebody experience feeling confident? They got a great haircut. They wore some really cool sunglasses. So for me, like I've had just some of my best moments have been walking out of the hair salon or putting sunglasses on and then walking into like a music festival or something. And so as I'm typing some of this more general stuff out, these really kind of epic experiences very quickly just flash in my mind, and then I can feel some of the emotion of that. And it's a really fun experience to be able to re-experience that emotion and engage that energy that I can now direct in the next phase of this process. So we'll do one more round of where could somebody experience feeling confident. They got a compliment. They got a raise. So when you're pretty well processed on this, it's going to be more and more difficult for you to find something. So they got a great deal on something that they had been trying to manifest. So I'll close it out there because it's getting harder and harder for me to think of something. Usually I would go until I literally cannot think of another thing, but for the sake of this exercise, you get the idea. Now, after you've gone through the positive opposite and you've stream of consciousness gone through everything, if you still feel like like you didn't really tap into any buoyancy, if you don't feel lighter than when you started, it might be useful to return back to the first word that you were feeling and to go through that process again. Or maybe your feelings have shifted somewhat and you want to return back to the emotion wheel and be like, I'm not really feeling anxious anymore. Actually, what I'm feeling is fear. Maybe I got down into the actual fear. And so you know, many times anxiety is a masking emotion that is covering up what is actually there, which is the fear. And so if that happens to be the case for you, where that didn't get handled in this, you might then just go through this same process where you write fear out here and then you say, okay, what's the opposite fear that I want to feel? So maybe it's trusted, like I want to feel trusted or trusting. And then you would just go through this process again from where could somebody experience feeling fear. You would go through that full thing, and then you always end on the positive opposite. And the idea is that you want to feel lighter and buoyant, because that buoyancy is the thing where you're like, let's go. You know, when you're ready for a boating trip on the river is something that comes to me. Like I can remember when I was in my 20s, I was working at this real estate office, and I had to get up at like 4:30 every single morning to go and pull microfilm for mortgage documents. And I hated waking up that early, but it was the job that I could get in real estate, and I wanted this guy to mentor me, and so I did it, but I did it begrudgingly. But what was hilarious is on the weekends when I didn't have to go pull film, my friends would want to go and float the river or go out to the lake. And sometimes we would get up at the same time, 4:30 or 5. But I was so buoyant and excited to get up and go hang out with my friends at the lake. And what was it? It was just that I was framing the energy in a poor way when I had to go and pull microfilm, where I was framing the energy in a really interesting way that was more buoyant. It had a lightness to it when I was going to go hang out with my friends. And so I was building out a vision of what was going to happen that day that was more tied to my soul desires. Now, in another video, we can talk about how you can take some of the stuff that you have to do and tie it into your desires. But really, this process is about tapping into some of the energy. Like even just thinking about that river trip, like I'm feeling my juices flowing right now. And so now we got the juices flowing. And so what do? Well, now, one, I almost always just delete everything. I sometimes I will take this and I'll feed it into ChatGPT and I'll have it write me an essay to reflect back to me some of this stuff. But a lot of times I just delete it because I find that as a recovering hoarder of my own personal writings, there's actually a release in just writing something and deleting it, even though this was a stream of consciousness exercise. So let me check the chat. Looks like we're good in YouTube. I don't see anybody on stage in requesting up in Twitter. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next part of the emotion wheel exercise. And so this is where now that you've connected in to some of the energy that serves you, that is lifting, that has you kind of fired up, that has you connected into the you, that's like the you that is your best potential, that the you where everything is possible. Now you say, okay, what are the things that I need to do? And you could put a time frame on it where what are the things I need to do today, or what are the things I need to do just in my life. Sometimes I like to start from that big of a perspective. And so maybe it's you know, so I might create an ordered list. If you're following along on YouTube, you can see my screen. But basically what you're doing is from this place of having emotionally stacked this more lifted, buoyant energy, you're now allowing that to organize your thoughts so that you can optimally create the list of the things that need to happen. So for me, I need to pick up shirts at UPS, and then I need to do a trading card upload and quote for prize season. And so what I'm going to do is just literally go through anything that is now ordering in my head as things that I need to do. And I'm doing this stream of consciousness as well. I'm not putting this in any particular order. I'm not bogging myself down with needing to order the priority right now. I'm literally just letting whatever needs to get done in my life to have an expression here. So I need to go and get some fruit. I need to write a new proposal. What else do I need to do? I need to process returns. I need to finish my SEO work. So I'm literally just anything that pops into my head, I'm putting on this list. And now I'm going to allow myself to pick 3 of these things. So any three of these things that I think that I can, for me, I usually say, what can I get done in the next 2 hours? Because the way that the hustle harder hack that I still hold on to, even though I'm not even drinking coffee anymore, but I still like to do it to get out of the house because I work from my home office. So what I'll do is after I've gone through this whole process of identifying the emotions that are present in me, stacking the positive ones so that I can get into the zone of productivity, making my to-do list. Now I'm going to pick 3, so I may just highlight them in green. So I'm going to pick up the shirts. I'm going to get some fruit. And before I do any of that, I'm going to process the returns. And so then I would take those things and I would order 1, 2, 3 in priority. So priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang a carrot for myself. So the carrot for me is that once I do these top 3 things, I get to go to Starbucks and I get a treat. So when I used to drink caffeine, I would get a caffeine drink. Now I'll get like a tea or maybe some oatmeal. It's not as tasty of a carrot anymore, but it still does work because I like to use this as an opportunity to change my scenery up, to look at different things, to think about some stuff. A lot of times while I'm in the car going to Starbucks, I'll be listening to a podcast that's information that I either need for something that I'm going to do or just another way to get inspired about something. And then while I'm at Starbucks, a lot of times that's where I will respond to emails or Discord messages or Twitter messages from my phone, or sometimes I'll bring my laptop. Regardless, this has been a very effective way for me to get stuff done. And many people, have said, hey, I think John Ray has an AI. How does he get so much stuff done? So I appreciate those people saying that. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I do think that I get a lot of stuff done and that I'm a highly productive person. And so this emotional wheel strategy is the strategy that I use because almost always the energy for us to do the things that we need to do is there. But when we decide to do something, there's old energy from the past that says, this isn't going to be fun. This is going to take forever. And in that energy, we can't connect in to new ideas or inspirations that may allow us to collapse time. And so by transitioning and stacking a desired emotion after we've dealt with some of the underlying frustration or trauma or emotional injury, what we do is we connect ourselves into new ideas. So a lot of times what will happen is, even just as I'm writing out the to-do stuff, I'll be like, oh, I should actually Google this thing. And so then I'll Google it, or I'll ask ChatGPT how it would do it. And then I'll be like, oh, that's actually a way more interesting way to do this. Maybe it requires the same amount of energy and time, but it gives me a perspective of how I could do it in a way that actually feels good to me, feels lifting to me. And that is enough to move me through my day and to get things done and to have me show up as somebody who is productive and somebody who is a good steward of the projects and the tasks that are given to them. So I guess to close, so after I finish those first 3 items, if I then go back to my list and I'm like, ooh, I need to finish all my SEO work. I don't know about that. So what I'll do is I'll actually break it down into smaller steps because a lot of times my reluctance to doing something is really because I don't actually know what part to do first. So I'll say finish H tags, write, open graph, and then maybe I need to press release network strategy. So maybe those are the 3 things that I need to do for one of my SEO clients today. So now it's easier for me to look at each of those and understand where I have clarity or where I don't have clarity. And if I don't have clarity, then maybe I need to return to the emotion wheel exercise again. So I might go to the wheel again and I'll be like, actually, I feel confused right now. So confusion, especially, if we had a chaotic childhood, it is a deep set emotion that really stops us in our tracks. And that confusion can be laying over sadness. It could be laying over fear. It could just be laying over shock that we had as a child, because confusion is usually, I don't know how to process something. And so maybe I just write down confused and I do the whole thing again where I say, okay, confused, what's the positive opposite that I would like to feel? So I'm looking around here. I don't always look for the word. Sometimes the word just comes to me. So the word that's coming to me right now is clear. And sometimes I put a phrase too, clear on what I need to do. And so then I would just say, from where could someone experience feeling confused? And I would go through the whole process, stream of consciousness, where I am now documenting as much as I can anytime that I can think about where I, a family member, a friend, somebody from a piece of fiction, a TV show, anything I have my tentacles into where somebody could experience feeling confused, I write that out. So I say they could get lost without a map. Shout out to those of you who were alive before GPS. Where else could somebody feel confused? They don't have a plan. And so as I'm saying this, times when I didn't have a plan are coming to the movie screen of my mind. Some of the feelings associated were coming up with that. All of that is trapped energy that is preventing the circuits in my nervous system from firing at full optimal value or productivity. And so I just go through this list until I literally can't think of anything else. I'm actually at that point right now, 2 things, and I can't think of another thing that somebody would be confused, because my nervous system has so much energy flowing through it right now. But then this list sometimes in the past is maybe 40 pages. I've literally filled an entire legal pad with the word resentment before. That shows you some of the places that I was in the past. But once we literally cannot list another thing, we can't think of another thing that we feel confused about, we go to the positive opposite. So the positive opposite here was clear on what I need to do. So from where could someone experience feeling clear on what they need to do? So they have great instructions. They have a good mentor. So as I'm writing these things out of where somebody could experience feeling clear on what they need to do, I'm emotionally stacking positive memories and things from movies, from books that where I remember what it feels like to know what I need to do. So from where else could somebody feel clear on what they need to do? It's a task they're really good at. Almost always, if we're really good at something and there's something on our task list that we're really good at, there's usually no resistance towards doing stuff that we're good at. Almost always it's because we don't know how to do something well. And so we need to get to a place where we can show up and put the reps in so that we can become somebody who is really good at something. They had a coach that explained it really well. They had a great teacher. They found a great piece of software. I can remember a time when I had a problem, and man, it was just, I was trying to manage all of these things with spreadsheets, and I went through this process. It was late. I was at my office late. I was working at a honey company. I was driving home in the middle of the night. And I went through this process, and I was like, there's got to be a better way of trying to manage all of the scheduling with the spreadsheet. And I went through this process, and I just said, okay, I'm going to land on it. I'm in the vibe that's ready to go. And but I hadn't quite, the emotion I was processing out was frustration. And I think there was still a little bit of frustration there, because your law of attraction will always show you, because literally I get in my car and my Bluetooth would not connect to the radio, and I could not put the music that I wanted to put on. And I must have sat there for like 15, 20 minutes trying to get it to work, and I could not get it to work. And I almost punched the radio. I was so furious. And I was like, you know what? That process didn't even work. I still feel frustrated. And then I start driving back to my house. Well, because I wasn't able to connect my Bluetooth, I ended up turning on FM radio. I never listened to the radio. I haven't listened to the radio at that point in time in like 10 years. And I swear to you, the first commercial break was for a SaaS product that was designed for plumbers and service technicians. And it was a scheduling software. And it was literally the exact piece of software that I was looking for. And I pulled over into like a Dollar General parking lot. I went to the website that they were talking about. I read the sales page and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This is such a cosmic joke. This is exactly what I need and solves my problem so well. And so one of the biggest things that you have to accept when you're doing this process is that whatever happens next is the breadcrumb path that is going to bring about the solution that you're looking for. So that's the emotional wheel exercise. It's what I use every single day to make sure that I stay productive and can do the things on my to-do list. And yeah, I guess I will open it up to anybody that wants to jump on stage, or if you're one of the people that's tuned in on YouTube, you can type into the text chat. Otherwise, we will leave it at that. That's the emotional wheel exercise. You can go back and watch this video on YouTube if you are interested in going through this whole process again. I see Jules just jumped into the room. Hey, Jules. Hey, Simone. Hey, Merv. I appreciate you jumping in. Hey, Musing, my alter ego. And yeah, I think unless there are any questions, we'll go ahead and end the stream there. This is the process that I use to find the energy that I need to find to be productive every single day. It has served me very well. You can go up to the Jumbotron and click on the live link to watch the entire replay. And yeah, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.